National League are the Cubs and American League are the White Sox.
Oh.
So I'm a White Sox fan. They're on the south side and the Cubs are on the north side of the city.
Oh, okay. I'm in Carmel, so does that make me a Cubs fan?
I don't know. Could be.
Maybe.
There's a guy in here that's a Cubs fan, and we go back and forth. We found these for him and brought them.
Oh, that's cool. Nice.
I think I got most of your
yeah.
bio here for the most part.
All right. We can improv a bit if you want.
I will. I will. I have it. I don't use it. I'll just ask you about it.
If you need it.
I just ask you about it.
Right down, 30 seconds.
Oh my God!
Oh, good.
Better have some iced tea, quick.
Is your PR gal Maddie? Does she live here?
Yeah, I don't. She lives somewhere in Indy, but I'm not sure.
I mean, I don't mean here, but in the area.
Somewhere around here. Yeah.
She's got a cell. It's 908. I don't know where the hell that is.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Autosportradio.com 2019 show. I'm your host, Don Kay. We are live from McGilvery Speedway in the beautiful town of Speedway, Indiana. You got to keep McGilvery's in mind if you come to town for any reason. I don't care what it is, to buy a pair of shoes, a shirt, or just spend the weekend and go to the museum. You got to come to McGilvery's. Great food, great service, and the adult beverages are ice cold. Tonight's show is presented by Honda and Honda HPD, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, NTT IndyCar Series, and the SVRA. A couple things to mention. My friend Steve Jordan had a hip replaced this morning. He was everything went well, and he should have gone for a walk by now, according to his bride. To wish him well, he's got to get recovered, and because he's going to be working his 51st consecutive Indianapolis 500, so he's got to get back in shape. We're going to talk about, as I'm sure most everybody knows, Father Glenn O'Connor passed away Friday afternoon. I have somebody come in. We're going to chat about that a little later in the program. And his viewing is Friday from noon till 8, and then the service is on Saturday at 11 o'clock at the Cathedral downtown, wherever that is. I'm not sure. Race Chasers, if you've never been to one, you ought to come this Saturday. It's wonderful. The guest there, yours truly. Why they want to talk to me is beyond me, but they do. However, there's a $10 admission, and the money is for charity, and will go to the Indy Family Foundation. So if you get a chance, come to Green Street at 1 o'clock. We'll probably start a little bit after that, and listen to my story, which hopefully won't put you to sleep. On Sunday, May the 5th, the Dan Weldon Pro-Am karting event will take place again at Mark Dismore's Newcastle Karting Center. The green flag is to drop as of now at 1 o'clock, and a number of IndyCar and Road to Indy drivers will be there. And Susie will be on hand. In fact, she'll be here sometime in April. Stop by. So if you get a chance, you got to go out to Mark Dismore's place. It's a great event. It's a charity event. It raises funds for Dan Weldon Foundation, so you don't want to miss that. Next week, my guest is first guest will be the Andretti driver, sponsored by the United States Air Force. Connor Daly will be here. And also joining him will be Jim Aiello, who covers all sports in Indianapolis, but in season he's glued to the IndyCar Series, so you want to hear him. He's a really good writer. Entertainment upcoming at McGilvery's on Friday the 22nd. It's Music Bingo, and I understand that's really going well. Saturday the 23rd, the band will be the Big Top Band from 9 to 1. And you can pick up your brackets. They're scattered around here. Make your guesstimations. Got to be in by noon on Thursday. And the first prize, the cornhole set. Second and third are Bud Light buckets filled with goodies. And don't forget, if you haven't seen Beeline, if you didn't see them when they were here before, you've got to come and see them. They're phenomenal. They will be here April 27th at 9 o'clock. I'm telling you, you won't want to miss them. They are really good. And they'll be back in June. So if you get a chance, come on by. You need a dentist? Everybody loves to go to the dentist. I know Eldon loves it. He goes there quite frequently and really enjoys himself. Dr. Jack Miller and Dr. Liz Lewis have a fantastic practice. Make an appointment. Give them a call, 317-846-6125. And with all the bad weather, you have trouble with your roof? got roof problems, Reed Roofing, excuse me, is who you need to contact. You can talk to my esteemed colleague back here. He will. They have a 22-point free inspection to tell you if you got a roof problem. I have the sheet up here. If you think you need something, come on by and talk to me. And if you haven't seen the museum display yet, Hoosier Thunder, Indiana Short Track Heritage, you got to get there by the 21st of April. It's a great display. You will love it. My first guest is a gentleman that came all the way from Britain to come here tonight. He is driving the nice pink-black colored car for Meyer Shank Racing. He had a really not a bad weekend in St. Pete. They qualified the best he's ever qualified and brought the car back in 10th and put it back in a trailer in the same condition they rolled it out in. He's an outstanding driver. He's won at everything he's ever done, and he's got a good season going this year. More races than last year, so we'll find out what's going on. Please welcome Mr. Jack. What's your name again? Harvey. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
Well, better than nothing.
Seems like you guys had a pretty good St. Paddy's Day here, that marquee outside.
Yes, they did. There was, I think, 11 people came out Friday. It was very good. The food was outstanding. Do they have St. Paddy's Day in England?
I think it's kind of everywhere, but I think I'd love to be in Ireland to actually be there once, but I don't think it's an Irish holiday anymore. It's just a holiday that we all get behind, and just an excuse to booze, I think.
And everybody gets to be Irish one day a year if you're not already. Meyer Shank is involved in many aspects of motorsports. They ran the 24-hour, the Rolex 24. He wanted to go and enter the same team he had, essentially the same team he had at the Rolex 24 in Le Mans, and they pushed him away. Why? Does he know why? It's an all-girl female drivers, if you didn't know that. Three of them were IndyCar drivers. Catherine Legg, Simona Di Silvestro, and Anna Beatrice were on the team, and there's one other gal I don't know. But what happened? How did he miss on that one? Did they ever give him an answer?
I mean, nothing like starting controversially, I guess. Honestly, I don't know. I've seen the reports, and it seems like it was fairly political. As soon as someone hits the word politic, I usually just retreat.
All right.
Because I don't know enough about those things, and I think everyone collectively was disappointed that he didn't get his entry for Le Mans. It's such a stellar lineup that they have. Like truly, they have. Yeah. It's Caterpillar behind it, Honda Eye behind it, and Acura behind it. I thought it was pretty disappointing really they didn't get that opportunity. The ins and the outs of the why, I have no idea. Wasn't something. I mean, Michael didn't seem overly happy, and it definitely didn't seem like something I wanted to prod him on. So I was like, so what about our stuff, just to keep him, just stressed enough. So.
Well, he was very pleased with the turnout in St. Petersburg. Now, you guys are, what'd you run, 5 or 6 races last year, running 10 this year? 6, yeah. You're running 10 this year. Where do you go from here? You're going to go to COTA, then from where? You run everything up to the Speedway?
Everything up to the Speedway, so leaving for COTA on Thursday, then we have Barber, then Long Beach, Indy Road Course, and then Indy 500. So we've got a pretty action-packed schedule to start the season with. It's pretty great.
Have you got pretty much the same crew now that you had last year?
Yeah, there's a few additions to it. New engineer, a few new mechanics and whatnot, but 90% of the team is totally the same. And I think anyone who's involved in anything really, the continuity of people can really carry so much weight. And I was happy that so many guys stayed. It was a 2-year contract, so when we tried to recruit people from the get-go, it was very much it's not one season and done. It's a 2-year thing, and if you're not in for both years, then don't come along for the journey in the first place. And we obviously had a great weekend in St. Pete. I thought one of the nice things, you kind of leave a little bit disappointed, which is sad because we executed our best weekend that we had in IndyCar. We qualified 7th, we finished 10th. So that was our best weekend, but I think we all felt that there was a little bit left on the table, which I think really is a great place to be. We had our best weekend, but we still left a little disappointed. We come here to win, and I know it's... got it. We're all good. you know, we come to win, and you know, it's a big ask. The series is so competitive. We hope that the next 9 races we have will go very well, and next year will be in a full-time drive.
How important is it for you and the engineer to be on the same page? I mean, when you pull in and say something, and he looks at his computer or reads the tires and says, "Oh, you're wrong." So you got to be on the same page.
I don't know what I'd say if he said that. No, I mean, honestly, driver and engineer relationship is like one of the most critical parts. You know, every great driver will be able to tell you who his engineer was, what their story was, changes they made in key moments. Mike Culver's my engineer this year. You know, I know he's pretty well recognised and known in this area, and so far everything we've done has been great. You know, one of the things I love about Mike the most is we've actually made a mistake. One of the mechanics made a mistake in St. Pete, and Mike's such you know, I mean, old school guy. I'm not saying he's old or, you know, anything like that. I'm just saying he's an old school guy where he literally just went and eyeball checked the car and was like, that's not where it's meant to be. You know, and I've had engineers where they get so fixated on the lines that a computer says, and I'm like, guys, just go and look at it. You know, go look at the tires, look at the car, tell me what you think. You know, and he's got that so far anyway. I mean, we'll see what we say at the end of the season, but you know, so far he's got like such a great balance of understanding the data and trying to learn from that, but going on his gut and going on what he visually sees. But that relationship that's key. I mean, we spent honestly a couple of months making sure we found the right guy to replace the guy we had last year. So far so good. You know, we just got to keep working at it to make sure we continue that path.
What got you into motorsports to begin with? Why did you want to drive a race car?
My dad. So I don't know if anyone knows, it's a series called Autograss Racing. If anyone doesn't know, it's basically a cross between a non-wing sprint car and like a dirt buggy. Really, it's dirt oval racing in the UK. You know, he did go-kart, he did motocross bikes. You know, 4 wheels, 2 wheels, 3 wheels. Hell, I think if you put an engine on it, he might have tried it with 1 wheel. And it was always just in my blood. I always would go away, you know, with him when he was racing up and down the country. And my mum always tells this story that the one time I couldn't go, you know, for school or for something, and I just cried the whole weekend apparently because, you know, my dad was going away racing and he left me behind. And I still remind him of that now. Hey, you remember that one time he left me? And I don't know, when I was 9 years old, he got me a go-kart, and I think now he just wishes he left me playing soccer because, you know, it's been a wild journey that we've gone on. But you know, my uncle is 62 this year and still races 250cc long circuit go-karts.
Oh boy!
You know, so not just my dad; it's an uncle. It's very much a, you know, a Harvey family passion, you know, that we have for racing. He's got his own rolling road dyno in his garage at home. You know, he takes it serious. And I remember, you know, I was, you know, 14 years old and we had my go-kart on it, and you know, we take it very seriously.
Now, you've been very successful from the beginning. Every series you've been into, you've won in. Was your goal to come here, or to just say, "There's nothing else. I don't want to do it, or I can't get into Formula One. It cost me $200 million. I'll go to America." What brought you here? Why?
When we set out, we had a very simple goal in mind that I wanted to be a racing driver, and frankly, I didn't mind exactly where in the world it took me. I'm extremely lucky that I get to call this my job. You know, I put way more into it than just my job. I'm, you know, beyond passionate about it, and you know, I give everything to make sure that this is successful. I mean, I'll be the first to say I've had great support from when I started go-karting. My dad, you know, has given me every opportunity I can to be successful, and the success we've had isn't just a reflection on everything I've done. It's a reflection on the people that I've had behind me, the support that I've had. You know, so really I owe a lot of the success we've had to the amount of people who've just helped. Why did we come to America? Well, we won British Formula 3, which typically in the past has been where Formula 1 drivers have won at and then progressed into Formula 1. There's no denying that the cost of Formula 1 way exceeds IndyCar racing. But you're only talking about the difference of millions versus tens of millions, which are just such obscene numbers. You know, my mum and dad are steel fabricators. You know, we're very much from the normal real world. You know, where in the motorsport world you'll drop crazy numbers like, oh, we just need $500,000 to go racing. I'm like, okay. Don't know where we find that from. We rob a bank or something. You know, so we sat down and, you know, we felt like the best career path for me at the time was to come stateside, and it was my idea. It was something I wanted to do. I'd never been to America, but I always felt a weird pull to come here. I'd always watched NASCAR, I'd always watched IndyCar. I will say I didn't have a great appreciation for what the month of May really entailed and what it meant to Hoosiers.
Go ahead.
Oh,
No,
look like making notes.
No, something just crossed my mind.
You know, and I guess the opportunity came and I pounced on it, because to me the very simple goal that we set out to be when we started racing was to be a professional racing driver. I love it here. I've lived here for 5 years, live on the north side of town. I've pretty much immersed myself into American culture. I even call football soccer now, just to avoid confusion, which hurts every time I go back to the UK and say the wrong word. You know, but I'm passionate about Indiana things. You know, I go to a lot of Colts games. I just went to a Pacers game, go to the Fuel games, Indian games, even though baseball's a struggle for me. I'm not a big fan of cricket either, so it's tough. But you know, I really have immersed myself into American life.
Obviously, you must like it here. Is there a huge difference between where you came from and here? And if so, what's the biggest difference? Get used to.
Language barrier is quite hard sometimes for me. I don't always know what people mean. They say it, and then I reply with what I think I'm saying, and it's just a constant miscommunication. Actually, the best thing my girlfriend got on was when we didn't really understand each other, because she would say something, I thought she meant it a different way, and I'd be like, oh, well, that's great, and then I realised actually it wasn't what she meant. But I don't know, I think my hometown's a place called Lincoln. It's 2 hours north of London. Pretty similar to Indy in a lot of ways. You know, it's not the biggest city in the world, and you kind of have to be from here to appreciate it to its full. But I think it's the place that, if you're from here, it just forever stays a big part of you. And you know, for as much as I really immerse myself into American culture, well, there's a saying that you can take Lincoln from the boy, but you can't take the boy from Lincoln. You know, so people from my area called yellow bellies have no idea why. You know, I'm yellow belly and proud, so you know, it's.
Well, I'm not yellow, but I got a rather large. Does that count? Is there any connection there?
Nah, it's just super American.
Oh, okay. Did you meet your young lady friend at racing? Is she a race fan? And said, oh boy.
Nah, like the complete opposite of that. I actually think I tried to tell her that I was a driver, and you know, smugly said it a little bit, like, oh, I'm going to do the Indy 500, and she was like, what's that?
I bet she's got a pretty good idea now.
Honestly, the first 500 I think was quite an eye-opener for me, because I'd never been a driver in one, and I think it was an eye-opener as well for everybody. You know, my sister cried, you know, on the first lap of the 500, and I was like, what were you doing? She's like, dunno, just felt like crying, so I cried.
When you came here, had you run ovals before?
No, so I think the only oval that I know in the UK and across Europe is Rockingham, and the only time I'd actually driven that was when I missed the braking for turn 1 on the road course. So ovals were a completely new experience for me. Something I'm still working on. It's such a weird, I'll say weird, it's such a different kind of racing, and so many things that, you know, a lot of people don't really consider me a rookie, but oval racing is quite alien to me still. You know, I'm pretty lucky that we won at the Freedom 100 in 2015 in my 4th oval start, but honestly, that's the thing I'm looking forward to. Hopefully, if we do get to do a full season, is a bit more oval racing.
The first time when you went to the Speedway, particularly, I mean, the other tracks, there are other ovals, but you come here to run, and the speeds are quite excessive. I mean, they're well over in the 200, 220 bracket. Did that scare you when you're riding along and you're thinking, all right, and all of a sudden you see somebody right next to you, you go, uh-oh.
I think there's two really vivid moments that I have. The first one was the first time I came to Indianapolis was in November 2013. I had been testing in Sebring and came back, gone to Barber, and I hadn't really been a lot of time in Indy. And in December that year, it was cold. Like, honestly, it was so cold I nearly didn't come back. And I remember going out to the Speedway, and there was just it was white over. was freezing cold. But there was this atmosphere there that I couldn't explain. I tried to explain it and didn't have the words, and honestly still don't always do it justice. And bearing in mind, you know, the track's so big that if it's not anything other than race day on the 500, it kind of looks empty, you know, no matter how many tens of thousands of people are there. And I got there and I was like, this is just the coolest thing that I've done. And I hadn't even seen anything go around. Just you know, there's an atmosphere at the speedway that is contagious, and I thought, this is where I want to be. And then the second of the time was I went and stood on the inside of turn 1 on qualifying day. I wasn't racing that weekend. I was in Indy Lights, and I remember watching Ed Carpenter super clearly do his first mock qualifying run, and they said that at the end of the straight it was nearly 240 miles an hour, and the first time it went past, my head didn't turn fast enough to follow it, and I was just like, that's really cool. That's the coolest thing I've ever seen. And I just wanted to be a part of it, desperately wanted to be a part of it. And I'll say that, you know, I am so lucky with everything that I've got to do. I've been to top, you know, soccer and football games. I've been to golf events. I was really lucky and got to go to the Olympics when it was in London. But to me, the Indy 500 is the most special place that I've been in as a sporting event, where the whole day, I feel like the hair on the back of your neck is just standing up, it's on edge. And the thing is, I think what makes it more special is seeing how people in Indy really embrace the race. When the month of May rolls in, people are thinking Indy 500.
Right.
You know, and it's just amazing that a place generates that level of interest and genuine passion for a sporting event. I can't think of anywhere else in the world that does it to the level that the 500 does.
Do you get a lot of coverage back home in Britain? Yeah.
Yes. They must have been watching something on TV. It happened good.
Oh. Forgot my question was. What the hell did I ask you?
So in my hometown in Lincoln, it's a small place. There's you know, a lot of great talent that comes out of there. But I mean, I've been very lucky that they have continued to support me through my American adventure, which is great. I think IndyCar with their TV package that they've got.
Yeah,
is this better?
Yeah.
Everyone can hear me now.
Yeah.
You know, the TV package they've got is extended to the UK as well, so you can watch IndyCar racing on Sky Sports F1, and almost immediately the uptake in people watching was massive. So so far so good. We just want to try and make sure that we keep that support as best we can.
Well, I don't think that will be a problem, and particularly in Europe this year with Felix Rehnquist coming in and Marcus Ericsson, I believe his name is. There's some good, and of course, what's that guy from Formula One? I can't remember his name. Fernando Alonso.
Fernie.
Who?
Fernie.
That will.
Fernando. Yeah. Well, so it's funny. It was my first 500. We were teammates. This is a guy that's been my racing hero since I was 8 years old, and then suddenly, you know, I'm standing in the changing room in my underwear only, and he's there with me. It's the most surreal moment of my life.
I see. From what I've gathered, and I only talked to him once, only briefly, but from what I gathered and what I heard from when he came here and he ran a 24-hour Le Mans, Rolex or something, he was astounded at the number of people that came up and commented and talked to him about having been here.
Yeah.
It kind of took him by surprise.
Well, I think there was a lot of things that took him by surprise. Honestly, I think the level of access that fans get here is way different than it is in Formula One, which honestly I think is another reason why IndyCar does so well and why people come to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Not just those, but all the other tracks, because if you're a fan, you can get access.
Right.
And I think that scared him a little bit, because suddenly there are a lot of people there following him around or waiting for him. But even when he was doing Formula One, a lot of people would talk to him and ask him about the 500. And I don't know if anyone watched any of his interviews, but they'd be like, "Oh, McLaren was struggling, da da da," and all this down energy, frowning almost. And then suddenly someone would say, "Hey, well, what about the 500?" And his face would literally light up, like that. And that's a guy who's a two-time Formula One world champion. So if it has the effect on him, can you imagine what it had from a kid from the UK, who has worked as hard to get to that position? It's just amazing.
When you came here, had you driven a car anything like IndyCar has?
I'd probably driven something similar to Indy Lights, but stepping up into IndyCar was a very new realm for me.
How do you like the new car and what they've done to it this year, the changes they made from last year to this year, and the tires changed?
Yeah, I mean, I think the car itself, it's been spoken about and whatnot quite a lot. They took a lot of downforce away from the car, so it basically means you can't go as quickly around the corners. And I think that shows. I think it showed last year. The car itself is a lot more fun to drive. It feels like a big go-kart, frankly. It's moving around, especially a lot of the rear. The thing that induces, obviously, is more mistakes, people pushing the limit more, and like in St. Pete, we were like a half a tenth away from transferring to the top 6, but I think the field was separated by 0.7 of a second.
Right.
So I think IndyCar have done a great job, I think, at trying to build a car that races better by taking some downforce away, but also made it a lot more challenging for the drivers. And let me tell you, when the car's not very good and it's challenging to drive, that's a tough day. That's when you wish you had all that downforce back from last year. But I think on the whole, I think IndyCar are always at the forefront of safety innovation and whatnot. And if we can keep the car safe, but we create a better package that races well, then I'm all for that every day and twice on Sunday.
And every driver I've talked to said they like it now because you have to now drive it. You don't just steer it because it's stuck. You have to now drive it.
Depends how good your day's going, really. Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that's right. It really feels like you have to get in and hustle as hard as you can. And what comes with that is a big reward. And if you guys aren't quick, it's a big gap to try and then catch up. So I think they did a really great job at making the drivers push themselves instead of just casually going about your day.
Yeah. Is there anything else you love other than winning the 500, of course, and a championship at some point in time? Is there anything else on your table? Would you like to try Formula One if they called you?
I mean, to do a test of the Formula One car, or like leave and go and race that for a season?
Go race there.
I mean, it would depend who would call you. Let me put it this way. The reason I love IndyCar racing, the level that I do, is we go to the track, maybe not always on pace, knowing that we can win, knowing that if the right cards fall our way in terms of yellows, in terms of pit stops, and the race itself, if it plays out your way, you believe that you can go every weekend and challenge to win. Maybe not always on pace, and maybe with a bit of luck, you can go and challenge for a win. There's probably 3 teams in Formula One that feel confident about that, probably 2, if we're really honest.
Yeah.
It's not a situation I want to be in. If Mercedes or Ferrari or Red Bull called them like, hey, there's a seat for you, it'd be difficult to say no to, but in the same breath, if everything was going well here, I like living here, I like racing here. I don't know, it'd be a tough one. I think Formula One is still the pinnacle of our sport. But they're all the reasons that I love IndyCar racing. That's everything that Formula One lacks. So it would have. We'll see. Not high. Not high on my list. I'm not seeking the opportunity anyway.
Do you like? Do you like the fact that the fans can have access to you? I know you're very easy to approach until you're putting your hat on your gloves, and you don't want to be bothered. But you're a very, very approachable driver, very friendly, willing to talk. Do you like that as opposed to being off in a corner where the fans can't get to you?
Not really. I mean, I say this to people. I believe it in all sports. If you don't have a fan base, you don't have a sport. If everyone stopped going to watch basketball games and football games, it'd just be guys. I'm not going to say what I was going to say because it's rude. But it's basically just guys running down the field trying to catch a ball. The thing that really gets everybody buzzing is when the driver that you like or the team that you like, because you've had a good personal experience with them, because they stopped and signed your hat, or they took a photo with your kid, or whatever it is. People get behind that. People get behind people, and I love the fact that you can come here and if you try and take a pit selfie with me before I'm trying to put my helmet on, in a polite way, you might get a rude word. If we're just hanging out, you know, somewhere in the garage, then come and shout at me and be like, hey, can we have a whatever, you know, photo, autograph, no matter what, general chit chat. Because the moment we lose that, you lose like a decent chunk of the identity of your sport. And frankly, you know, selfishly, I want you guys to all go and buy my t-shirt because you guys like me, not one of the other guys. And I think when you have that personal connection with people as well, your relationship just grows, you know. Like people like Elio or Tony, they don't become great just because of the things they've achieved. They're fan favourites who also are achieving great things racing.
Well, I agree with you, and I think the thing I watch, I a lot of times will go to the autograph sessions, and somebody will come up that you've seen somewhere else, and they're here, and you recognize them. That just knocks them away. They get so excited. I had a gal that wanted to meet Connor Daly. She said, I won't go up there. He won't talk. Yeah, he will. So we introduced her, and she got so excited it was ridiculous. And I've seen the same thing with you when you stop and talk to somebody. They're pleasantly surprised, but you do it and are really, as long as you're not getting ready to get in the car, willing and happy to do it. I think to me, that's what makes the difference between most other sports and IndyCar racing.
Well, I think that goes to Formula One sometimes as well. The drivers are so guarded behind, you know, if you haven't got the right credential, you're not getting anywhere. You know, they have a team of people ushering them through the doors, you know, at all times. And I don't know, I guess that's another feather in IndyCar's cap.
Well, you leave Thursday for COTA. Did you go down there and test?
Yep.
How did you like it?
Oh, it's an awesome circuit. Really, really awesome. So many high-speed corners. There's a bit in the middle that was kind of a pain. It was very slow, and our car wasn't great there, but hopefully we've had a month to prepare for a better weekend. So I think the test went well. Obviously, St. Pete was good. One of the most difficult things to generate is momentum, and hopefully, you know, another good weekend, we'll just get that ball start to roll, and hopefully it'll snowball.
So when you arrive at the Speedway to run the road course and the 500, you'll be ready to go.
Hopefully that's a good time to peak on the season, yeah.
Well, I thank you for taking the time to come here and bringing your young lady with you. I'm sure she's excited. I've heard all this before. What's the big deal? I thank you for your time.
She's the only one who normally listens to it, so I've got to say it.
And I want to thank Maddie for setting up something last week which apparently you weren't aware of, and she wasn't aware of what you had, so but you did come back.
We had a miscommunication on that one, which was sorry about that, but
that's
nice
right.
to get in today and see everybody. And the only thing I will say is when I first came to America, I was new, everything was new to me, and gradually as my career has progressed, some people have jumped on the bandwagon. The thing I would like to just acknowledge to everyone today, there are faces here today who I remember from the first time I came. You know, so you don't ever have to say thank you for me to come in. You know, frankly, I thank you for inviting me when I was a nobody. I still am a nobody, you know, but ultimately we're trying to be a somebody. You know, and I appreciate all of you coming out today. I don't know what else you have planned on a Tuesday, but there's probably something else other than this. So, you know, you don't have to extend that thank you to me. That's from me to you.
I got news for you. There's a lot of people here because they want to see you.
Oh, no.
They
knew that Steve was coming, so that's why they came.
And they heard Michael was coming, and they went, ooh.
I'm not sure when he snuck in, but he just snuck in there.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I think your fan base is growing. People are aware of who you are and what you're doing, and I wish you nothing but best. I think Meyer Shank Racing, because Michael's really into the racing. He's into it big time. And you mentioned that your crew was a 2-year deal. Have you got a 2-year deal as well?
It was for 2018, 2019, and if we do a good job this year, hopefully it'll be for 20 and 21.
Good, well I hope it is. It's good
Me too.
Thanks for coming in, glad to see you, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you everybody.
Jack Harvey, keep an eye on him. Thanks, appreciate your time. My next two guests are on their way up. Oh, come on up, Steve. Oh yeah, he says he lost weight, nothing about me. Of course, I didn't lose any. Why would he? He just came from somewhere.
For the record, Jack Harvey is one of the, I think, one of the brightest up-and-coming stars in IndyCar. He has been so great through Indy Lights and all the years that we have been working with him. And he looks darn good. I mean, he lost a lot of weight in the off-season, so he's been promising me we'd go out for all-you-can-eat tacos, but that has not happened. So being a proper Brit, the English don't have very good food, as we all know. So I took him to a real shady Mexican restaurant, and he enjoyed it. And I think that's potentially where the weight gain came, but now he's looking stealth again and fantastic. He was fantastic in St. Pete, and looking forward to seeing him in the first races, first 6-7 rounds of the season. So best of luck to Jack. He's awesome. Awesome man.
I want to mention, if it's time for you to get insurance for your home, your car, your commercial property, do what I did and what a lot of people did. Call VP Insurance. Talk to Mike Pardee. They're located at 5004 West 16th Street in Speedway. Call them. Find out what's going on. He'll give you a quote. You might be surprised. Better coverage for less money. His number is 317-248-0070. That's VP Insurance, beautiful town of Speedway. If you haven't joined the IndyCar Nation yet, do yourself a favor, do it. Because when you go to the racetrack, they got a lot of perks. It's really nice. You'll enjoy it. You might even wave the green flag for a practice one time. You get 2-seater rides. You get pace car rides. It's really worth it. Go to IndyCarNation.com and in the promo box put Don K15, and you get a 15% discount on your when you join for Champion or Legend membership. Bill and Stephanie, who they're not here tonight because Bill had surgery on his ear to remove some cancer taken off his ear, and his ear hurts. I said, come in and have a couple of beers, you won't feel a thing. But they're staying home tonight. But if you'd like to take a ride in the Grand King limousine, you take 68 people. They'll pick you up in one place, tour some race shops, and bring you back where you started. You can give them a call at the office and talk to them about it. Number is 317-820-3595. And if you need anything at all embroidered, stitched, Stitches too on Gasoline Alley is a place to go. Call Fran. She loves to talk. Her number is 317-271-3444. And if you want to get a 2-seater ride, there's nothing like it. You go to IndyRacingExperience.com, pick a date, and put in the promo box SJ1. You get a 50% discount. Are you looking for a new car or an experience car? Sam Pierce Chevrolet in Daleville. He'll tell you why it's the best prices are in the country, and trust me, Daleville is in the country. Stop by. You can take I-69 north to exit 234, go east 1 mile, and you won't miss them. Sam Pierce Chevrolet. And if you like vintage racing, the next SVRA event will be at Road Atlanta, the 2019 Road Atlanta Grand Prix, the 28th and 31st of March in Brazelton. Get yourself there. It's a great event, great people. You'll see a lot of the cars you saw as a kid. They're still running, and some of the drivers are there as well. My next guests are two gentlemen very heavily involved in the world of IndyCar racing and the Road to Indy program. Sitting next to me is the young man who if you go to the track, you'll hear him on the PA. If you listen to the broadcast, you'll hear him as a pit reporter with the IMS radio network. And when they introduce the drivers, he's generally the guy that does it because he can pronounce the names. He is a really good guy, and he's here. We're going to talk about the passing of Father Glenn. Please welcome Mr. Michael Young.
Good to see everybody. How are we?
Sitting next to him is one of the prime writers for the Trackside Online. He covers both the Road to Indy program and IndyCar program, and the thing that I like best about what they write is the owners, drivers, and teams will talk to them because they don't write BS. They write what they say. They write what's there. Please welcome Mr. Steve Wittich.
Thanks for having me, Doc. I've got to say, so I moved here, I think it was 1995.
He's Canadian, just so you know.
So, and I remember, I was always an IndyCar fan, came down here for 500 a bunch of times before that. And I remember some of the first memories of me moving here was Track Dude at the track.
Oh, God.
From 1995.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I think you had a mullet.
I did have a mullet. A darn good mullet.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. I did not know that.
Oh, yeah.
And in case anybody's hungry, Steve only ate half his nachos. A small nacho was clearly too much for him to handle here.
Michael, I invited you because I had seen you on Channel 6 talking about everybody's friend, Father Glenn O'Connor. Tell me a little bit about him. He started, by the way, in motorsports with the guy sitting there, Hall of Fame sprint car driver, Eldon Rasmussen. and that was before he went to become a priest. And Eldon tried to teach him fabrication, which he learned a lot about it. And he really got hooked on racing, and Eldon's at fault. It's his fault.
And I understand, Eldon, that he was fixing a crashed race car. I didn't think you ever crashed a race car.
It was somebody else's fault.
It must have been someone else's fault.
Yeah.
So it was an odd week. So I belong to St. Susanna Parish out in Plainfield, and we had. I joined in 2000, and a priest by the name of Father Kevin Morris was the pastor there from 1999 to 2012. So when he left, they said, okay, we got to get a new priest. And sometimes the Catholic Church, as we all know, is a little slow. So they said Father Glenn O'Connor's coming in. Well, I knew Father Glenn from obviously IndyCar ministry and all the IndyCar races, so I was excited because I knew him. It was an odd week last week because Father Kevin Morris was coming back from the doctor, had a heart attack, and he died on Tuesday. So the parish is kind of reeling from that. And then on Friday, we're at our fish fry, and at 6 o'clock, one of the guys came by and said, Father Glenn just passed away. So it was a rough week. And the thing about Father Glenn, and I know everybody has a story about Father Glenn, but we had our parish fundraiser, our signature fundraiser, the week prior to St. Petersburg. Father started getting sick. He was getting sick throughout 2019, but around Thanksgiving, he just started looking sicker. Father, you all right? Oh, I'll be fine. Yeah, I'm fine. Just got a little something. Okay. Thanksgiving, he started getting bad, and then on Christmas Eve, we had the children's mass, and he just was hoarse and just didn't look good. So I talked to him after Mass, and I said, Father, when my voice goes, drink a lot of water. He goes, oh, yeah. I said, not whiskey, water. He goes, oh, yeah, I got it. So, and after Christmas was over, they said he was really sick, and he was just gone. So we did our signature fundraiser the week or 2 weeks before St. Pete, and he came. And everybody said he's on the mend, he's going to be good, so we were excited. And I talked to him, and he said, so Michael, I'll be at Long Beach. That's the goal. I'm getting better. I feel really good. I'll be at Long Beach. I said, well, we'll get you a golf cart, but please feel better. Don't fly all the way to California and get sick again. He goes, no, I'm fine. So he got up, and he said grace, and he was going to do, I did the auction for the fundraiser, because we can't afford a real auctioneer. And Father said, I'd like to do an auction. I was like, great. So when he got up to say grace, he had his brother-in-law, who's also a doctor, and he kind of fell forward, but he was good. He's still a little hoarse, and got through the grace, and everybody applauded. It was great to have him back. He stayed for half of the event. I asked him if he wanted to do any of the auctions. He said, no, I'm fine. And as I said, Friday night, 6 o'clock, hey, Father Glenn passed away. Well, we come to find out he had stage 4 lung cancer, was diagnosed in 2017, and didn't tell a soul. And now that he's passed, I don't think I realized how many lives he touched between St. Joe, St. Anne, St. Suzanne, all the 2 parishes he was before, through the racing community, through IndyCar ministry. Oh, by the way, he was a chaplain at the airport. Oh, by the way, he started the Halfway House Seeds of Hope. Oh, by the way, he did this. Oh, by the way, he did that. I had a guy that texted me or on Facebook, messaged me, said, when I first came to town, I didn't have a home, and I called Father, and he put me up for a couple weeks. Who does that? I mean, he was truly as close to a Christ-like figure that I've ever known in my life, that his mission was to serve the world. Nobody ever knew. He'd be gone for hours and days, and we'd always wonder where he was. Well, he was up taking kids that were less fortunate up to a cabin and spending a week with them at the cabin and their families, and just treating them to something on him. Or he'd be at the prison, speaking to the men's prison, the women's prison, talking to people who trying to find God in probably one of the worst places in the world. He was always doing something. He was always serving the Lord, and you never really realized it because you'd see him, and he was always happy and go lucky. And oh, by the way, we should probably do a raffle to raise some money for something, because it was always about raising money and gambling in some way, shape, or form. But He was one of the most sincere. He never met a stranger in his life, and I think anybody that talked to the man, who spent any time with the man, loved the man. And it wasn't until his passing, and again, he didn't tell anybody. He lived for the last 2 years of his life, and no one knew how sick he was. And up until Christmas, was doing all the things that he'd always done, deathly ill. And now that he's gone, it just brings home the fact of how special of a person that he was. I mean, is it the Golden Ace? This is the Golden Ace on the east side. Is that what the name of the bar? Okay. He was scheduled to do the Mass out there. He promised them a year ago he'd do 10:30 Mass on St. Patrick's Day. Being a good Irish Catholic, he was going to be there, but he committed himself to so many things that it wouldn't be anything for him to be at the church 10 o'clock on a Tuesday night, still working, still doing the hundreds of things that he had to do. That for him, his vacation was working and doing things for the community. It's just a tremendous individual, great man.
Well, I got to know him like a lot of people did. Just seeing him, and he come up and start talking. In fact, 2 years in a row he came up and he said, "Don, can you help me?" I said, "How am I going to help you?" He said, "I need some tickets. Can you help me?" I said, "Yeah, probably." So I did. And a couple of times I see him coming out of a race shop or garage at the Speedway, and I know who was in there. And I said, "Do you need any help? Because I know where you just came from. You might need a little salvation. Can I give you a little?" He was just a good guy. And in fact, Father Phil was the same way. You could talk to him about anything. Yeah. It didn't matter. And you wanted to say, God, they didn't care.
Right.
They were blue-collar priests, were there to help you, listen to you, whatever you needed. And I thought Father Glenn was really a neat guy. And to see him actually get his hands dirty.
Oh, yeah.
In a race garage.
He loved it. Loved it.
Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, he looked forward to that more than I think anything else in the world, was to get out to the month of May. I mean, once all the services and he did all his pastoral duties, to get out on that circuit, it just lugging tires, doing whatever it is that he needed to do. And now that I think back on it, he was doing all that work, and he was already knew how sick he was. Yeah. But one of my favorite stories of him, my first real memory of Father Glenn, was years ago. So IndyCar ministry, and obviously they do Catholic masses at all the races. So it was a really weird weekend. There are a lot of odd things that went on that weekend, and you'll realize why when I finish. So we're at Mass that morning, and it was early morning. And he reads us the Gospels about being angry with God and how to handle anger with God, and how we shouldn't be angry with God. We should be thankful to God. And during his homily, Father Glenn said, "I always read this gospel and being angry with God at funerals, especially for young people, because people's first reaction is anger to God. Why in the world take a young person that's such a bright future ahead of them, that has this wonderful light and glow about them? Why take them? Take me, I'm old. Why take the young people?" And people tend to get angry with God. He said, "I always read this gospel, and I always say, don't be angry, be thankful that you've had that person in your life, howbeit ever short of a time, that bright light, that you were able to experience that light, that God had a greater purpose for that person, and appreciate that light, and thank God that you had an opportunity to have that light in your life." Got out of Mass, and 2 hours later, Dan Weldon was killed. And I took that with me on the flight home the remainder of that weekend. It was such an odd weekend, and for that to be the homily that day, as soon as everything started sinking in and we got back to the hotel, I thanked him as soon as I landed. I said, that got me through a lot of anger and a lot of wondering and questioning why in the world Dan Weldon. And that happened that day.
Yeah. He was quite special, a good guy. And I say, in my opinion, I'm not Catholic, but he didn't care.
No.
Father Phil didn't care. He didn't care who you were.
Nope.
You want to talk? Let's sit down.
Yep.
Or stand up.
Yep.
Or have a wine.
Yep. He was good at that, too.
Yeah.
He just, the world's a little bit less bright with him not being around. I mean, it's amazing what that man really did. And And until they're gone, you don't really know what they did because he never bragged about it. He didn't want any credit for it. He just went out and did his mission. He did his ministry. He tried to help everybody, and he did an amazing job of it.
Well, it's too bad. Now they got to find somebody for the airport, for the Speedway, for the IndyCar ministry. They're
big
going to be.
shoes to fill.
Yeah, he's going to be. He will truly be missed. 'Cause
Yeah.
he always had a smile, always had a joke, or if you told him something he thought was funny, even if it was a little shady, he'd still laugh. He found it amusing.
At Mass on Sunday, they played a commercial that Father Glenn had done talking about St. Patrick's Day. And in typical fashion, it was hilarious and made everybody smile and a good reminder of just what a special man he was.
Yes. Well, I thank you for taking the time to come in and talk about him, because a lot of people knew him, but really probably didn't know him as well as maybe you did.
Yeah, it's
and he will be missed.
yeah, certainly it's the last thing he said. We had that auction. He said, "Awesome job, great, so awesome," and just to know that he was so appreciative of everything anybody did. Little did any of us know how much he was doing. So, but never wanted the credit. He always was willing to pour praise on everybody else, and that's just the type of guy he was.
Well, I assume where he is gone, he's getting praise there.
If you hear thunder in the next couple of weeks, it's just him raising ruckus up in heaven, because they're going to have to clear out some aisles for Father Glenn. I'll tell you that. He is something else. Something else.
Steve.
Yes, sir.
You're going to your second race. When do you leave?
Actually leaving tomorrow.
Oh. Early in the morning?
Not too early.
Good, thank heavens.
He said tomorrow, not tomorrow. It's tomorrow.
You know.
It's Canadian.
Yeah.
Hi. What about IndyCar?
You're not that bad, are you?
No, I've lived here long enough. Get a few drinks in me, and the A's and the oots and all that will come out. But for now, or if I'm at home, but usually it's not too bad now. Now I'm conscious of it, so I'll sure to.
I think it's amusing.
Slip into an accent.
That's all right. How do you see this year going for both IndyCar and Road to Indy program? Could you cover them both well, in my opinion, and I think most everybody that reads Trackside online? How do you see it? Have they made an advancement? Have things gotten better this year than they were last year for a number of reasons, perhaps?
Let's start with Road to Indy.
Okay.
I definitely think they made some advancements.
Is that your phone? Hang on a second.
Yeah, I know. Right?
Who's calling you during the show?
Roger Ward Jr.
Of course he is. Of course he is.
I said, call me before 4 o'clock your time, Nindy.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
he can't read
that's
time.
okay. That's all right.
Anyway.
It's a time zone thing. All right.
We've got 10 Indy Lights cars, which I know people still probably don't think is enough, but it's a definite improvement from the 7 last year. I think you'll see 11 at some races, up to maybe 13 or 14 at the Freedom 100, and I know they're working really hard to add more cars. I think you had Johnny Baker on. Did you have Johnny on?
No.
You need to have Johnny here.
Okay.
Johnny is working, he's sort of the series development director now for Road to Indy, and he is doing an awesome job at trying to bring new. The biggest problem with Indy Lights right now is lack of teams and lack of tubs available. We're up to, there's 4 teams this year, which is a 1-team improvement. You had Carlin really close to coming back. I think they'll still come back at some point when the time is right. They want to do it with 2 good drivers, and they could only find 1, so they only came back, or they decided not to come back this year. But you've got 4 teams that can have winning drivers, right? You had all 4 teams place drivers in the podium at St. Pete, and I think it'll be like that all year long. I think you'll have maybe 3 or 4 drivers in championship contention. The other series are still really strong. You've got, I think, 15 cars in Indy Pro 2000 now. How many times did you say Pro Mazda at St. Pete?
0.
Nice.
Thank you.
You're well trained.
I practiced.
Yeah. My big was not just saying Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires. I kept putting Mazda in front of it. So
I didn't say all that other stuff. I was so concentrated on saying Indy Pro 2000.
Yes, I know. I hear you. We got 15 cars there. Pretty good field, deep field there. Really deep field of young drivers in USF 2000. Should be a fun season in that. There's going to be a lot of really good young drivers coming up. Some pretty good stories. Kid named Hunter McElroy from Australia is named to keep your eye on. Braden Eves, Darren Keene, both American kids driving for Cape. It's going to be a good season. IndyCar, I think just keep building on the momentum it started last year. You got a second race in a row with 24 cars on the grid. You're going to have, I'm going to say 36 cars for the 500. You might get to 37, possibly. I've heard of another one maybe coming to fruition, so we'll see. But it's getting a little late in the game for that, but we might see a 37, which would be a lot of fun on bump day on Sunday.
Do you like the way they've changed for television, I got to assume, to give you, if you have a problem on Saturday and you bang your car up, now you didn't qualify. You fix the car, Sunday you got one shot. One and done. And you could essentially be a faster car than somebody qualified and not make the show. I'm not so keen on what they've done, but television, I'm sure, is the one that orchestrated that.
Yeah, it's definitely great for television. I think it's better than what we had last year, for sure. Like, you were done last year on Saturday, and that was it. And, if you had a problem, the problem is that you can get into qualifying. Both Hinchcliffe and Pippa had this sort of similar issues where there was something fundamental wrong with the car, and they kind of knew what it was, but in a short day, with one day, you can't fix that problem. So they needed to do it overnight, and now at least the team can have a chance to look at the stuff overnight and maybe change a fundamental problem with the car. I'd like to see them get more than one run on Sunday, but it certainly is going to be exciting for TV.
Yeah, but don't they have scheduled 3 hours at the end of the day for practice or something?
Yeah.
So they could essentially give them, because they practice again on what, Saturday is it?
Yeah, they practice on Monday again. But they, I think it's TV reasons, because it'll be on NBC. The bumping and then the Fast 9 shootout will be on NBC. I believe it's Stanley Cup hockey that may be on after that. So there's something that it would be back on NBCSN, and they just want to keep the exciting stuff on NBC.
Back to you. We'll change the subject with you. What I discovered that Indy Lights, both of you, is not going to be televised. If you get the gold package, you can watch it. If you don't, you can listen to it, but not see it. Now, if you're trying to get sponsorship to your Indy Lights program and move up, that sure makes it very difficult, because somebody's going to say, we got getting exposure, big deal. Now, I think they're anticipating 2 million people will sign up. Think that'll happen?
For NBC Gold?
Yeah.
Stranger things. Here's the way I'm understanding things. And God, I'm getting old, but for a guy who used to have 3 channels and rabbit ears, and then the UHF band where you really had to go slow and kind of dial in the channels right there.
See, I'm only old enough. Remember the push button remotes that had cords that were attached to the TV? Do you remember those?
My neighbors, the Ruperts, had the first remote control TV, and it went like this, tong ting, tong ting, and then it just kind of went one channel at a time. And so if you missed the channel you wanted to see, you had a tong ting to get all the way around the wheelhouse to get back to number 2 again. In any case, the way I understand it is the way TV in general, cable, all that, I guess they're trying to get ahead of the game, and I understand it to be getting ahead of the game, that over-the-air broadcast will still be there, but cable and all that will go away, and everything will become a pay-per-view package. Whether it's right, whether it's wrong, whether it's going to happen a year from now or 10 years from now, that is the thought process. As far as lights go, it's tough, but they've always had a tough time trying to get sponsors into the series. It's going to be tougher now because you have a hard number. They'll be able to tell on the internet. We had 10,000 people watch. We had 2,000. We had 100,000. Don't know. So it's more exact. It's more precise. It's going to be more difficult. I think it's a harder sell. But bottom line is, Oliver Askew is going to be a fantastic driver. Ryan Norman's going to have a good year. Rinus Van Kampel. I tried to say that right. Rinus VK. There's a lot of good drivers in that Indy Lights circuit. And that Oliver Askew kid, I remember 2 years ago in St. Pete, I'm like, he's lighting the world on fire. Jumped right into the Indy Pro 2000, and now he's in Indy Lights. That's a young American kid who's on the road to success.
The thing about the USF 2000 is impressive. You mentioned some of the young kids coming up, but Jack Miller and Adam Vinatieri got a pretty good team. They got Ruben Barrichello's son in there.
Yep.
Although at St. Pete he had a mechanical problem. He didn't do diddly. But young Jack is going to be decent. I mean, he finished, what, 8th, I think, or 6th?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, no, I think he'll be a good driver. He's just going to take time.
Oh, yeah.
and they know that. So does Rubens with his son. They know it's a 5 or 6 year process. If anyone has kids coming up, I recommend it's 5 or 6 years, basically, in some form of whether it's, Formula Ford to start and then Road to Indy, whatever it is, it's going to be a 5 to 6 year process. Going back a little bit to the Lights TV, one thing, it's not ideal for American kids. It's the same as it always was for European and South American kids. It's still available to watch online if you're outside of the U.S.
Whoa.
So,
be done. Move to the Bahamas. You're good to go.
Exactly. You can watch any lights races anywhere you want.
She says, "Yeah, let's go now." She'll go home and pack before when I get home, she will be all packed. There'll be a for sale sign in front of the house. What is it about motorsports? I mean, I'm approaching a milestone in age that I've lived this long to start with, but I love it. What is it that hooks you on this sport that you can't walk away?
For me, people. It's the people.
Yeah.
It's the emotion. It's the passion. It's someone like Jack Harvey who's worked so hard, and then to watch him start his first Indy 500 is really cool. It's even watching these young kids. The first time they're on the podium, and it's not just. I said one of the best things to do if you're at an event where you're like USF 2000 or Indy Pro 2000 is, and it's a first-time podium winner. You guys can go up and watch the podium. Go watch the parents and the grandparents, and that just pure joy of emotion that everything that this kid has dreamed of is now coming true. One of my favorite, and that's for me, racing it's all about emotion.
And I think to add to that, for this new generation, I'm convinced this is the fact. The best thing that the Indianapolis Motor Speedway has done in the last 10 years is put that snake pit back and played music, and those kids have no idea there's a race going on, and that's fine because they're having the time of their lives. I know kids, parents that said, "Can you help get the kids in?" So we try to get them tickets, and they will not miss that day without fail. They've got to be in that snake pit. Well, guess what? At some point, you're not going to be 19, 20, 21, 22 acting a fool anymore. You're going to be old, but what do I do on Memorial Day weekend? I go to the Indianapolis 500. They will buy tickets to the race because it's become a part. It's tradition. And that's a negative word for millennials. Tradition is a horrible word. But oddly enough, and like everything, you have to trick a millennial. They're creating traditions, and they don't even realize it. And they will become race fans because they love the atmosphere. And the same thing with the road course. When you go to Road America, when you go to St. Petersburg, when you go to some of these road courses, Circuit of the Americas this weekend, there's a different vibe. There's a party atmosphere. It's camping. It's hanging out. It's seeing people. It's driving golf carts around, where we didn't really have that in the oval days. We have now with a lot of these road courses that people are going out for 2 or 3 days again, but they're camping. And they're getting golf carts, and they're having friends camp next to them. And oh, by the way, let's go over to Turn 8 and hang out there. And it's becoming a different type of tradition. I still love the ovals. I still think they're a key part of the sport. But that camping, that being around other people, atmosphere that those road courses and street courses bring, the party that is Long Beach, Toronto, that makes it hard to resist going to these races.
You do the majority of driver introduction at the start of a race, don't you? I know I have commented on a couple of occasions. I've been standing listening, and a guy mentioned him and said, "Who the hell is he? Is he in the race?" Because they couldn't pronounce it. And if they finally realize you can and you do it, for the most part, I think you do most all of it.
Yeah, no, I do everything except I think Texas is the only one that I don't do because they have their own announcer there. It's the saddest thing, and I think that's the great part about the series now. When we were in Iowa one year, this announcer was so bad, and he's, Tony Cannon and Dario Franchetti, and it's just, and I'd never met the guy. So we're down at pre-race, and I'm getting ready to introduce the drivers, and he goes, "Hey, I'm so-and-so, I'm the announcer. Nice to meet you." And he goes, "Good to meet you." He goes, "I think I'm starting to get these drivers' names down." Don't you think you should have done that before you got to the track? This is not a learning process thing. You can listen to it on YouTube. There's many ways. It's frustrating, and it's really even, even more frustrating for someone that's passionate about the sport, because we as race fans can nitpick. If you say one thing wrong, oh my gosh, the wrath that a race fan will give you if you mispronounce a name or, God forbid, get a stat wrong. They'll come down on you like there's no tomorrow. But that's the great part about the sport as well. I can never get angry at somebody that says, I can't believe you said that, because they're so passionate about it, and it's easy to get that way.
And it's interesting. I've said this a lot of times. You can go to have an announcer in baseball and nobody cares. You make a mistake about something on a race, and these people are all over you like a cheap suit.
Oh, yeah.
And it's amazing what they know. I mean, I can't remember yesterday, but I had Bobby Plump here last week. The stats he remembered, people said, good grief, he's 84 years old. Yeah, I'm catching him, and I can't remember yesterday.
Donald Davidson remembers the color of the shirts of the grandstands in certain years. It was like a maroon year that year, or there's blue. It's 64. Blue was the. How do you remember that stuff? Just the passion of that sport, of the sport, right? But this one more so than any other. There are so many different things. I said it last time. It's not only the sound, it's the sights, it's the smell, it's everything that you don't get that at a baseball game and a football game.
Right.
It's more vomit and stale beer at other places. But at IndyCar racing, just the sound. I mean, you get the 500 when you see for the first time 33 cars coming by you at speed. It's unbelievable, and then the smell and the debris. It's something you'll never forget.
That's what it got me, and I'm still here. Haven't left. They came out of turn 4 and went, It took 2 years to talk me to come here. It rained the night before. I'm sleeping out under my car in the rain, and I didn't want to go to the race. Come on. I said, no, hurry back, because all the beer will be gone. Well, they talked me into going. Still here.
Yep.
Can't get rid of it. As short as the field is in Indy Lights, Steve, the competition, it's not that you see a car go by and you have to wait 15 seconds for the next one. There's a good group of drivers, and it's close. It's good close racing.
No, it really is. It's same, much like last year. There weren't a lot of cars, but it was a deep a field as you're going to get, and it's the same with this year. It's another deep field. I think you've got probably 5 or 6 guys in this year's field that'll be in IndyCar in the next 2 years. So, you're watching the future stars, and those guys go at it pretty hard. They go at it really hard because it's their future on the line, and they've got to show what they can do. And that $1 million scholarship means everything. And
to add to that, I think Zachary Clayman did it right.
Yeah.
He went back, and that took a lot of pride to swallow and go back to Indy Lights after running, some IndyCar races. To go back, I think he's doing it right. Instead of sitting on the sidelines trying to get a ride, hey, somebody hire me, go win the championship. And he looked great in St. Petersburg. Go win the championship, get the $1 million, and do it that way, instead of sitting trying to find something when there's already a shortage of cars and rides.
He's come back he admitted that, he still had a lot to learn, and he said, hey, I'm learning every day from my new engineer in Indy Lights. Because every day you're at the track, every day you're on track, every day you're at the shop, you learn something new, and everything you learn goes into making your career longer.
And he looked 3 times better in St. Pete than he ever did in Lights in years past. He looked mature, like he looked like a polished driver. He looked great.
You know who else did that? Zach Veach.
Yep.
When he couldn't get it right, he went back. He wasn't too proud. We had a guy who drove for Dick Simon, and he won. I think he won the Lights Championship. And I said, you got to do it again. He said, no, I've already done it. I said, yeah, can you do it twice? You know where he is now? Flying airplanes. He never got in a car again. That was the end of it.
Yep.
So, I tell you what, I think you leave tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah, I do.
Tomorrow.
I'm not going tomorrow. I won't be there.
Well, why not?
Because I'm too cheap.
Yeah.
So you know this, and I know everybody knows Don. So in St. Petersburg, we do this little media luncheon. This is the nicest hotel in St. Petersburg. It's called the Vinoy Renaissance Hotel. Don comes in, and I swear to you, they roll out a red carpet, and they have like a pyramid of trumpets playing an anthem when Don walks in. I thought he was just kind of semi-celebrity status. It's full-on celebrity wherever Don goes. So I can't believe that somebody isn't going to take you down to Austin. I really can't believe it.
Believe it.
Yeah. None of that was true, what I just said.
Of course it's not true. However, you did notice, though, when when they introduced 2 or 3 of the drivers, who was the first one clapping?
So, okay, so I'm on stage doing this question and answer thing with these drivers. And I don't even know, I introduce them. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I have this smattering of applause. I look out, and it's Don. And it's like, driver's like, checks in the mail, Don. Thank you, Don. So, we have fun at those. Those are good times.
I got to say, St. Pete does it upright.
Yeah, they do.
And Firestone does it upright, and so forth. It's a good lunch, and the food isn't too bad either.
Go to St. Pete. If you've never been to St. Petersburg, it really is a beautiful community, and the city does it right. They really get behind the race. It's almost like an Indianapolis type of atmosphere on a smaller level. The city gets behind it. They promote the race. Everything downtown is about the race, and it's just as scenic as you want it to be, and plus it's a lot warmer than it is up here.
I noticed that.
Yeah.
The growth of that race is pretty impressive too over the last 5, 6, 7 years. This year was by far the biggest crowd I've seen there.
Yeah.
By quite a bit.
And on Friday it was jammed.
It
Wow.
was jammed all 3 days.
Yeah.
That's what's really cool about some of these events now, whereas you used to have a big crowd on race day, where you're noticing the bigger crowds now are on the ancillary days, the days coming up to it. You look at it like Gateway, and there's a lot of these races now where even the Saturday or the Friday are just as big a days for the promoter, which just makes the schedule that much stronger because they'll keep coming back to the same place over and over.
And I inquired a number of times the people that live along the roads, they block the streets off for several weeks. Do they mind it? No.
No.
It's an inconvenience, but they go out the back door.
And that's the thing, the city is behind it, where when we were in Baltimore, the city was not behind it, even though it was fantastic. If you don't have the city behind you, a race is doomed right out of the gate. And Kevin Savary and Kim Green and Mayor Rick Kreisman do a great job teaming up together, and it's a wonderful event.
Before we go, I want to remind you, if you want to go see Father Glenn, and the viewing is on Friday from noon till 8 o'clock at St. Susanna Church in Plainfield. So if you get a chance, you want to say goodbye to him, that's where you can see him. And this Saturday, it's at the Cathedral downtown, starting at 11. And they say that you should be able to be out of there and can get to Brownsburg for the race chaser, where old Watash is the guest, and I figure they really had to look deep for that one.
Yeah, yes,
But come on out.
Yeah.
See you. Thanks for coming, Mike. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's short request of your
Man
time.
meant a lot, yeah. He certainly did.
And when you're listening to the IMS Radio Network and they say, no, Michael Young, it's him.
Yeah.
Thanks for being
Only
here.
in turn 2 this year for the 500, so I've been practicing my whole life. Oh, trouble in turn 2! So now I can actually do it.
So instead of Nick on all those videos, it'll be you?
Yeah. They're gonna move Nick down into that basket where Jerry Baker used to be. So I don't know how Nick's going to slither down into that little basket down there, but better he than me because that's a tight fit down in there.
Yes, it is.
By the way, that little spot out in turn 2, there's a little place up there. I'm kind of okay with heights, but sometimes not so much. You got to climb up this fence, and then you get out there. So it's this little place, and then there's just this pole that's in the center that holds this big place up. And then it's diamond plate, right? But it's all rusted. So that makes me a little nervous. How thick is that diamond plate?
It has held Nick for a few years.
But is it surface rust? Is it going to go when I'm... So I kind of stand in the middle of that thing and I straddle it kind of like a surfboard to make sure it's going to be okay. And I always have one hand here just in case it goes so I can save myself.
I've got a safety belt I give you. You can latch yourself up.
Thank you, Don. That's what I need.
One of the biggest mistakes I made when I was first helping out the radio network was Mark asked me to help him spot it. I think it was Fontana in turn 3. I said, yeah, sure, I'll help you. He goes, oh, we just got to climb up this little ladder and onto this, billboard. So I'm like, okay, that sounds a little sketchy. So we get there and I look up. I'm like, are you kidding me? So it's this, 15 steps ladder with nothing holding you in, and then you get up on this billboard, and it's about maybe half the width of this table, and there's 2 of us up there, and it's swaying around, and I thought, what did I get myself into?
The best still is Nick Yeoman, God love him, in Pocono. Evidently, there's a billboard out there, too, that he calls from, but it's like you go from, like, the grandstands, and it's all nice, and they got food and hot dogs, and hamburgers and beers and all that stuff, into the wilderness, and there's like snakes and bears and stuff, and he's got to go through trees, and he's like, I'm scared to death when I get out there, I'm never going to make it back. So we always get on the intercom, like the rattlesnakes, and he's like, cut it out, guys. little stories that we do in the trials and tribulations of the radio network.
And I understand Wally's retiring at the end of the year.
Well, he's been saying that for the last 15 years, so
Yeah,
I think this year's going to be the year. But talk about a guy who has brought so much to that radio network and done so many things for so many people and helped careers along. Wally's done a great job, and if it is truly his last year, he will be missed. But we have been having a great time with him, and our crew has been fantastic.
I always had a lot of fun because I used to spot with Mark for 4 or 5 years after you wouldn't climb. He said, "Will you do it?" In Milwaukee's the one I went. I'm not so sure about this.
Yeah.
I didn't have my safety belt with me.
But then again, a lot of these peoples were on scaffoldings back in the day. If
Yeah.
you go back and look, well, you guys have probably lived some of those scaffolds. Oh, my God, some of those scaffolds they used to build out of that speedway.
Yes. In fact, that's what ended scaffolds when they collapsed on the main straight.
Yep.
Fell down there. Did it kill somebody? I can't remember. I think it did.
Ah, no, they were too drunk. They don't remember.
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
You had enough to drink, you just bounced.
That's right, you bounce.
Well, don't forget, Friday from noon to 8, St. Susanna in Plainfield. Go say goodbye to Father Glenn.
Yes.
And we'll listen for you this weekend on the IMS Radio Network.
Looking forward to it. Going to be fun at Coda.
And Steve will be. I'll be reading your
Awesome.
posts. Thanks for coming,
Thank you.
Michael Young.
Thanks,
Steve
everybody.
Wittich.
Always good to see you guys. Thank you.
And before we leave, I want to say happy birthday to Scotty. He had a birthday a couple of days ago. And the world's #1 fan, his squeeze, Bailey, has a birthday in a couple of days. So I'll say happy birthday now because I'll probably be asleep when she has it.
Did you say his squeeze?
Yeah. That's his squeeze.
The squeeze.
Bailey Ebal. Yeah, they've been pals for years.
Okay.
I tried to weasel in on it, but it never worked.
Yeah, it
She
never
didn't-
works.
It didn't help at all.
Yeah.
Don't forget, next week, my guests, Connor Daly, driving for the Air Force and Andretti Autosport, and joining him will be the writer for the Indy Star who covers IndyCar, but he covers other sports. But in season, he writes for IndyCar, Jim Aiello. He'll be here. Well, until next week, say thanks for being here, thanks for watching, thanks for listening. See you next week. Good night. Thanks for being here.
You got it. Thank you.
Thanks for being here. I forgot to mention, my good friend, my IT guy, knows that I am a white... Who the hell is that? I got White Sox peanuts. These are fresh. When they get molded, they put them in a Cubs bag. Wow. Don't forget, if you got roofing problems, Reed Roofing. Give them a call, 877-445-7333. Or if you need help, talk to Ted right behind me. They got a 22-point free inspection. They'll tell you if you got a problem. Thanks. See you next week. Good night.
Are they get stale? They put them in a Cubs bag? Really? Wow.
That's awesome.
Wow. That was very good. That was very good. Oh, you're very welcome. God, I wouldn't have missed it for the world. Wouldn't have missed it for the world.